Your kidneys. Hey, they relate to anxiety, low back issues, and creativity. That's right, your kidneys store what we call your essence or your constitution. This is from Chinese medicine. That is going to be your creative and sexual energy. So the more you create, the healthier your kidneys. Also, this tissue relationship related to the bone. So think about it. Bone marrow is where we end up making our immune system and more blood. The stronger our kidneys, the healthier our blood and immune system as well. That's right, we're going to talk about strengthening the kidneys in this video. Let's stick around. Kidneys relate to safety and security, like we just talked about. They also have this tissue relationship with the musculature and that instinctive fight or flight reaction. A lot of research is out there now about this muscle. There's books written on this muscle. A lot of this info came originally from kinesiology understandings, where we understand how it relates to the organ. The psoas relates to the organ. Oh, wow, the psoas. So famous. Psoas famous. That's not the only muscle that relates to your kidneys, but that's the most famous one for that anxious reaction. And it's true. We have this quick reaction where it will pull our legs up to protect us from an attack. We have a rib cage covering our organs, but we don't have a rib cage down here covering these other vital organs down here. So we have a group of hip flexor muscles right here that quickly will protect that for us. And that's a big reaction a lot of times when we go into that fear or anxious state. If we stay there too long, low back pain. I've had it, I've experienced it. That's why I'm here today. This silly muscle was giving me so much issues when I was younger, and I had no idea it was related to my mental state until I was taking these classes early on in my career and processed some emotional stress, and my psoas released and my low back pain was gone. It all made sense once it was processed. Oh, of course, I was anxious. I was in fear mode. I didn't know what was going to happen. I didn't feel supported. My low back didn't feel supported. Made sense. Man, years later, here I am, making sure that I have a strong kidney and strong creative output so that I can have a strong low back. It's all that full circle. Life is funny like that. So how do we strengthen the kidneys? Well, how do they get weak in the first place? Our crappy diet. That's one thing. Of course, there's the nerve plexus and the lumbar areas where that is feeding all the musculature that supports that. We have the kidneys, we have adrenal glands sitting on top of that, and we have the kidneys that relate to the bladder. Our earlier video, we talked about the health of the bladder, how that is intimately laced in with the health of the kidneys and vice versa. And another thing that can hurt the kidneys is dehydration. So if we're not drinking quality filtered or spring water, then we're just not flushing them enough and things get dehydrated and sit around and create inflammation. Sometimes we're not drinking enough water. Sometimes we're just drinking other crap. I mean, sodas. A lot of these sodas, one, full of sugar, and that's going to damage the actual filtration system inside the kidneys. Other sodas have phosphoric acid. Wow. It's a funny thing about your body. It likes to keep things in check, just like nature. It'll keep all the minerals in check in the right ratio. If you're taking in something that's a really high ratio of one mineral and not balanced with the other minerals, it's going to confuse the body. If you take in a whole bunch of phosphorus at one time and then you're peeing out phosphorus because you don't need that much phosphorus, guess what binds to that as it goes out the body? Calcium. So that's a quick way to get yourself some osteoporosis, is continue drinking sodas with phosphoric acid in it. I didn't know that early on. I discovered that through a lot of actually clients that came to me and made me go down that hole and research it more, what was causing this. And it's a lot of truth to that. Thank God I kicked that habit a long time ago. So sodas or teas or anything that's constantly a diuretic in itself. A diuretic is something that causes your body to release more fluid, so you'll go to the bathroom more and pee out more. And caffeine is just that. Alcohol is just that. Certain herbs are just that. They're diuretics causing that. Sometimes you need that, but if that's what you're taking in all the time, then you're kind of taxing the kidneys. You're getting it to push out fluid earlier than it really needs to. And that's going to mess with your blood pressure and your blood sugar. Your kidneys are related directly to your blood pressure and your blood sugar, and for detoxification. So it's detoxing when it's supposed to, okay? And it filters things for us when it's supposed to, all right? So strong kidneys will create healthy bladder, healthy blood pressure, and healthy blood sugar levels. So those are some key factors there. What are some other ways to strengthen the kidney? Well, we need to take in good nutrients. Vitamin A is a key. That happened to me when I was first in my probably second or third kinesiology training. Surprised the crap out of me. I took a sprig of parsley, which is packed full of vitamin A, and my psoas, a related muscle, immediately got strong and low back pain got better. To this day, I keep a vitamin A supplement in my medicine cabinet. I don't take it all the time, because if I'm getting foods that have plenty of it in it, I don't need to take it. But it'd be a good idea. And if I'm not getting vitamin A in my diet, what's happening there? That's a fat-soluble vitamin. How do you break down fat-soluble vitamins out of your food? You need bile to break down and emulsify the fat. So if my gallbladder's not working good, I'm not going to break down fat-soluble vitamins very good, and that might not feed the organs that need the vitamins, because I'm just going to get malnourished either way. Vitamin C is another key thing. Now, quality one from a food source, not the ascorbic acid you see out there these days. So if you can get from a food source, vitamin C would be a great idea. And then there are things like probiotics. Of course, we keep the probiotics. And anytime you can take an antibiotic, you're going to compromise the good bacteria. So replenish the good bacteria if needed. And different herbs, like the Stonebreaker blend, I love. It's a great blend. Any kidney bladder tinctures that help break up stones. This is one. The Chanca pedra, however you say that, that's the Stonebreaker herb, and some hydrangea, some burdock, and some celery seed in there as well. There's other herbs that help soften and break down stones, and, well, they just help kidney function in general. But if you've got stones, you need to watch the oxalate intake, or what we talked about before, the soda and tea and caffeine intake, that overstimulation of those diuretics. And the terpenes, I believe, in the coffee and the tea also sometimes will release calcium. So it's another way you'll get that into the urinary tract and begin to build stones. They can be also from oxalates, like we talked about. So green leafy vegetables are something to avoid if you've got issues with that. Even chocolate, that stinks because I love chocolate, but that can be high in oxalates. Even cranberries, that's great for the kidneys in general, but sometimes it's high in oxalates. If you've got issues with that, just be careful with that. So again, similar to what we added with the bladder, for any nutrients would also help with the kidney. So those herbal blends like that, probiotic, of course, plenty of filtered water, juices like cranberry, unless you've got the oxalate issue, cherry juice, and pomegranate juice. I love some pomegranate juice. That's high in vitamin A. That's kind of my go-to to help my kidney. Also some lemon water. Zinc and thiamine, also good for the kidneys. So good, healthy foods limit the sugar. Okay? That's going to damage those little filters inside the kidney. And once they're damaged, man, they don't really heal that easily. So let's keep that to a limit. Good hydration, and any of these herbs that we need to add to that. So that's nutritionally. Now, muscle function, muscular. What are some muscles that are related to the kidney? We talked about the psoas, This is the most famous one, the Psoas. That is the super muscle that helps flex your spine and flex your hips. So it does those two different actions. I'm sitting right now, so it's partially engaged, helping me sit erect. And if I get up and I've got an issue with my psoas being so tight, I'm going to have some low back pain. And what do most people do? They go and stretch forward again. Well, we actually need to stretch the other way and get over something what is kind of, I would say, a pandemic nowadays, which is gluteal amnesia. This is a real term where your glutes have forgotten to fire, or you've forgotten to get off your butt to make them fire. So that's an opposing muscle to the psoas. And along with the piriformis, these guys kind of sandwich together your sacroiliac joint and stabilize all those ligaments. Any of those muscles not working correctly, and there's some play in those ligaments, you're going to have pain, and other muscles will have to splint the area to protect those ligaments. This is called the ligamento-muscular reflex inside that ligament. I'm a big proponent of this. I've had this issue. I've got a lot of clients that have had the issue. We're big on stabilizing the sacral area through either an SI joint belt and certain nutrients that'll help that ligament. Manganese is one. Vitamin C again, vitamin A. Sometimes there's other nutrients that we can actually help strengthen the ligament, or we counter-strengthen the ligament with a belt and then go and do the exercises to strengthen all the musculature around the area so the ligaments don't have to do so much stabilizing. They're the last resort. They have some movement, but they don't contract, okay? So the psoas, key. If we have strong kidneys, we have strong psoas, and we need that psoas to be strong on both sides of the body. If it's weak on one side, see where it attaches around the lumbars, it can actually spin those lumbars a little bit. If one side's strong and the other side's not strong, then you're going to start spinning the spine a little bit out of alignment. And then see, it goes all the way up and actually merges into the diaphragm. Kind of cool. Now the diaphragm's more related to the lung channel. We'll get to that, but you can see having a strong psoas will help with breathing as well. What an important muscle that is. All right, so there's another muscle that's pretty important. That's right alongside the psoas called the iliacus. Sometimes they call it the iliopsoas because they share a similar attachment. But you see this one's right inside the hip right there. And on the right side, especially the right side iliacus, is directly related to the ileocecal valve. Now that's the little valve between the small and large intestine. And your appendix is right there next to it as this little lymphatic organ, sort of like a little immune organ, just in case something goes wrong with the ileocecal valve. And things can go wrong with the ileocecal valve, like it can get stuck open, it can get stuck closed, it can get infection in the area, and that appendix will swell to try to address that. And that again comes down to diet and muscle function, and sometimes mental function. Remember, we're structural, biochemical, and mental beings. So we need these muscles to function, but what's causing the muscle malfunction? Like I said, diet could cause that. Diet, as far as things that would irritate that, would be indigestible fibers. Peanuts, popcorn, indigestible fibers, anything like that. Salads. I had a friend of mine years ago. It's kind of a sad fact. They were trying to go really healthy, him and his family. And my buddy he had just turned 50, I believe, and they just went about it a little bit wrong. You didn't even know. They're just trying to go healthy. So they ate raw salads for a week. Wow, what a great idea. It so irritated his gut and his ileocecal valve that he ended up with a gangrened appendix because it almost burst after a week of pain and going into the hospital, realizing that eating raw vegetables caused this issue for him. It's sad. Most proteins, if you've got good healthy gut and good healthy acid in the stomach and healthy enzymes coming from your pancreas, then and good healthy gallbladder function, then you're breaking down any animal protein to what's called chyme before it even gets deep into the small intestine. So there's no indigestible fibers in meat products. Kind of funny like that, right? So watch the vegetables and the seeds, especially, and the peanuts and popcorn and things like that, the kernels that could be stuck in there and really hurt that area. You'll know it and you can feel it if you just find the front of your hip right here, okay, and your belly button and the hip bone right here, and draw a line between it. Okay, go line between your belly button and the hip. Right in the center of that, and then poke in a little bit, and your ileocecal valve will be right up in there, and you can massage it. It might feel a little tight, might not. And now we have some other reflexes that we'll show you in a moment that'll help that function better. So we have the psoas, we have the iliacus. What's another muscle? The upper trapezius, upper traps. Big one right here. Got a little pop right. Big one. It's one of our no-no muscles, and I don't know muscles. One of those muscles. Torticollis or right neck. That's when it's pulled to one side. There's some malfunction on one side or the other. We feel a lot of stress in that area, right? Tightness in the upper trap. Many times that's due to weakness in your latissimus dorsi down there. So some worry, of course, is going to create that. It's also protecting our neck. Or we get cold, we get tight right there. If we don't protect our neck when it's cold, we get wind down the back channel, and it will try to protect it and pull up like that. Upper trap is a famous one for the stress, is it not? So that's also related to kidney. So see how our fear and anxiety just turn into knots everywhere. Okay, so what do we do with these muscles? How do we strengthen these muscles? Well, we talked about a couple things. Getting up out of the chair and going for a walk, doing some abdominal work, doing some shrugs, literally, with some weights in the hands. Going a little light to begin with. Of course, it's not going to feel good to get that exercise soreness. But upper trap-wise, we can use some lymphatic points. Remember, this is going to strengthen the muscle and strengthen the kidney at the same time. Lymph-wise, for our upper trap, we've got that spot right next to the bicep. You wouldn't think to rub here for the upper trap. This guy, right? Let's see what else we got. That's upper trap. We've got, if you find your collarbone and go down between the first and second and third rib next to the sternum, you've got some points right there you can rub. And right behind it, next to C7, kind of at the base of where the upper trap would be. Man, I've got a spot right there at C7. So that's for the upper trap. That'll strengthen the upper trap on both sides, rubbing those points for about 15 to 30 seconds. It's the upper trap. What about for the psoas? The psoas is belly button, go out an inch, up an inch, right on the skin. Move the skin heavily. Ooh, mine's a little tight right there. And then on the back, next to T12 and L1, right at the bottom of your rib cage next to the spine. Those spots right there help the psoas muscle. And then we had, the iliacus. We just talked about that for the ileocecal valve. That's a funny one. And the point is actually really close to it. You can see there's a point right inside the hip bone. So almost right on the muscle. You're pretty much on the muscle on that one. Same spot on the low back for the psoas and the iliacus around T12. And then this other funny one right on the front of the shoulder, right where the bicep tendon is. That's a tricky one. Here's a funny story. I had this happen, and it all circles back to that same nutrient again. Years ago, I used to get these. They're not styes, they're chiasolon or something like that. It's like a pimple underneath the eyelid in the actual oil duct. I had one right after I had some psoas and ileocecal issues. My ileocecal valve was getting clogged up. I think I was eating a bunch of seeds or something like that. And so I was working the point up here to try to help release the valve down here. I kept working this point. And then within a day, my eye swelled up. If we look at some other body reading in Chinese medicine, we can see that the eyes are related to the liver and sometimes the kidney. Interesting, right? Now, the ears are also related to the kidney, and they're directly related to this upper trap muscle. But the eye was funny because I was rubbing on this. That swelled up. I got that little pimple inside the oil duct, and it went away. Within a few months, I got another one. Took a week or two. Went back down, put a hot press on it and everything. Went away. A year later, I got one on the bottom. I'd never had one in my life. 3 in 1 year. That went away. A couple months later, I got one on the other eye, on the top one. I'm like, all right, something's really happening here that's never happened before in my life. I need to look this up. What is a common thing, nutrient deficiency or something that's happened, where now I'm getting these over and over infections in the oil duct inside my eye? And I looked it up, and guess what it was? Vitamin A deficiency. And it wasn't just the ileocecal valve. So your ileocecal valve communicates with these other little valves at the bottom of the stomach and at the top of the stomach. They have a direct, quick relationship. This guy has a quick relationship to also the gallbladder. So remember we talked about earlier, if you're not breaking down fat-soluble vitamins, you might want to look at the gallbladder. My bile was sluggish. I wasn't producing bile fast enough to break down the fat-soluble vitamin A that was actually in my food, so I wasn't absorbing vitamin A. So I just started taking a vitamin A supplement. That did help, but then I really worked on my gallbladder, and that helped me just absorb it throughout my food. I still keep that vitamin A around, so it's great for my, well, it's great for my eyes, it's great for my lungs, it's great for my kidneys. That's a funny story that how that all circled around for me working on the ileocecal valve, and that point right there affected my eye. And it's like my body was telling me, bro, you need to watch your diet, watch your organs within your digestive tract to make sure that you can break down your nutrients and get the nutrients for these other organs that can't break it down for themselves. And it was vitamin A that came to my awareness. It's one of the reasons I still drink pomegranate juice to this day. I had a low back issue a couple years ago where L2 slided out. It was my psoas function. And I heard that little whisper, get some pomegranate juice. And within a couple of days of me drinking that, I needed that vitamin A again. Then the spasm let up and quick adjustment and everything was fine. Okay. So those are the lymphatic points for strengthening the muscles. Of course, strengthens the kidneys. Remember, rub those things daily if you need to, but at least check them if you've got some issues with the kidneys or with those other muscles. What are some other emotions related to the kidney? Of course, we know anxiety, fear, worry. Those are the big ones. Lack of confidence, that security, certainty. People like security, feeling secure and safety. If you're secure and safe, there is no anxiety, there is no tiger, there's no reason to ball up. You can relax and be strong and stand for yourself. Feeling supported. Feeling supported. Remember, the psoas helps support the sacrum and helps support the lumbar spine. So feeling supported in that low back area. And then we have the creativity and sexual security or insecurity. So this is a creative energy in us. We need to create. The more we create, the more we get that feeling of energy, and we build our own life energy so we can create even more. It's like the creating creates more creation. It's pretty cool like that. So get out and do something. I coach a lot of people on this subject right here, especially when you've gone in the corporate life and forgot about your desires and your dreams when you were young, or the silly things that you used to do when you used to do art or play an instrument or something like that. That's not silly. This is healthcare. We've got to create something. If you're not making babies, you need to make something. And that just means do a garden, go dancing, do something. If you can make media outside, even great. If you're a creator, a content creator, whatever it is, create. The world needs you. You've got a very special flavor to you, and nobody's going to see it if you keep it inside your head the whole time. So creating, nobody even needs to see it. You just need to see it and feel the feeling of that. There's one more emotion I almost forgot about. So once you do that and you create something and you stand back and look at that, you might get this feeling, that feeling of awe and amazement that you made it. Either you got it from that art, or go watch a sunset or a sunrise on a mountaintop or at the beach and get that feeling of awe, that awesome feeling, which makes you feel about that big and God's creation feel huge, because it is, and you're a small part of it. So that feeling of awe and everything is safe are key. So how do we move the emotion? We have some vascular reflexes for the kidney. A big one right there at the base of the skull, the occipital protuberance, what we call it. You can cover that. So what we're going to do is actually cover it with our palm and do what we call a frontal occipital hold. We're going to hold that occiput bone and then 2 light fingers on the front, the frontal eminence, and hold that. And think about any of those emotions we just talked about, or any ones that are really resonating with you, and calmly think about it and maybe reframe into a different solution and process that. Get that big breath to come and let it go. Okay. Another way to process it is working the kidney channel itself. You see the kidney channel starts at the bottom of the foot, right there, that solar plexus point, comes up around the ankle, right inside the legs, all the way up to the collarbone. Kidney 27. We work these buttons a lot. We call them brain buttons, neurological integration buttons, switching buttons. We do these first and foremost in kinesiology. So they help balance brain hemispheres. Very important points right here for your brain function and eye and ear function as well, right at the end of the kidney line. And very important points at the base of that foot. Okay, that is your grounding point. A quick way to strengthen the kidneys is to take your shoes off and go stand in the dirt. Go outside and ground yourself. We are made from the planet. We go back to the planet, and we need the planet to balance our electrical system. Sometimes it'll drain those excess EMF particles, however you want to say it, out of you, and balance the ion exchange with you and the planet just by putting your feet there. There's a lot of science to grounding that's real. You're electric, and so is the planet. So give it a chance. Working that meridian, you can swipe it all the way up here. You can rub these points here, rub the points in the base of the foot, or go and ground yourself and strengthen that kidney channel. All right, in conclusion, strong kidneys mean strong creative energy. They also mean a strong, healthy, supported low back and upper trap. Pay attention to that ileocecal valve on the right-hand side. If that's got an issue, watch your diet. And if you have an issue with fat-soluble vitamins or anything like that, check the gallbladder. You might not be breaking that stuff down properly. Get some of that basic stuff in your medicine cabinet with the herbs and the tinctures and the probiotics, and make sure to hydrate. Keep healthy out there, and we'll see you in the next video.